Okay, welcome back to Soul Cards and Connection. I am so excited for today, you guys, because this is sort of the beginning of us. I feel like the beginning of this show. We're talking about the card today that started all of this. I'm Jamie.
I'm Rachel.
And I'm April. Welcome to our podcast. This is a place where we explore tarot and astrology and ritual and look at how we can bring these tools into our everyday life to connect more to ourselves and the world around us. We are so glad you're here. Trust that you found us for a reason. And let's jump into the threes. I'm so excited. We have been waiting for this episode. We've been waiting to talk about the threes.
I love the threes. I think that it's such a good representation of who we are. We're obviously three women. We came together in a triad, and it just is such a powerful connection. And threes really are about connection. They're about that community that we have built for ourselves. So yeah, I'm excited to talk about the
I
threes.
feel like threes are balanced. People say it has to be an even number to be balanced. That's not true in my opinion. I think triangles are balanced. They say jokes come in threes, like you have to 1, 2, 3 to build. No, 3 is the balance.
Well, for us, it is for sure. And I remember, so if with callback that the Three of Cups, we said if our show had a card, it would be the Three of Cups. So that's why we're all super excited. And when we first started getting together and pulling tarot, I remember pulling the Three of Cups and saying to Rachel, what does this mean? And you said exactly that to me. The threes are about community. It's the triangle. It is the balance of the triangle and the connection. And so I don't know if balance is the right word, but there's something there about the three energy.
So if you look at the geometry of a triangle, right? So where do the twos are really dualistic, right? They're about representation of a choice and from the seat of the ace, right? So when we get to the three, we're looking at it how we've been able to build up words from that, right? It's about the structure that we're putting in place. It is about the foundational community and those points of collaborative effort that create that pyramid structure, right? So it is a much more dynamic energy than the two, even, right?
So the 2 points on the bottom are like our twos that we were talking about in the tarot. And then the three is that point up. I love what you said that. Like it is the growth up. We are expanding. We are moving forward.
Which is it's that phrase actually is a really good way to segue into the Three of Wands, because it is about that expansion. It is about what we've talked about in past episodes of how the two represents a choice. Well, do I stay? Do I go? Am I comfortable? Do I stretch? The three is about that journey of living and that exploration. It is in the action that you dreamt about, that you're finally getting to take the trip that you always wanted, that you planned for, or it's that energy of that. In my card, she's got the three wands and she's got her surfboard, and she's literally in the vacation that she dreamt of when she was at the Two of Wands, and she's living it. She's manifested this reality for herself that she's finally experiencing.
So if you were pulling a three and a spread or like as a daily card, and it could be the Three of Wands, like what is that message generally that we're receiving with this card?
The threes really do represent this kind of trinity aspect of how we create foundation in our lives. And a lot of that is in community. It is in collaboration. It is in the joining together of individual ideas, but when seen through the lens of everyone's perspective, it causes us to grow in a different way. Whereas if we're just with ourselves, there's a certain amount of growth there. But when we collaborate together in a variety of ways, like it's just going to open up a whole new expanse that we weren't anticipating before.
I remember saying to you, Rachel, that one of the reflections I've had on my life is that I tend to get into relationships of three, like with three women, like three friends groups, is a pattern that's happened for me my whole life. I can remember back in elementary school, I had 2 other friends. So we were 3. And I remember you just looking at me and saying, like, yes, like, because the 3 is the stronger, like, you are resourcing for yourself community. Like, you are making that community and connection. That was such a powerful moment for me to hear that from you.
I think women tend to do that more easily. They gravitate towards those relationships that support them, and usually you need a balance for that too in order. So it's interesting that you do that, and I've done that as well. I have friendships and groups of 3s as well. I have 2 college besties, and we go on trips together, and we find ourselves better balanced in that kind of configuration. And when you look at the triangle of the 3 sides and you turn it upside down, another form of a cup, right? So
It's a womb.
it's
It's
another
a
womb.
womb.
When we had our son, we knew we were done. I knew I was done. And it wasn't the birth experience or the pregnancy that did it. It just, I felt balance. We only needed the one. We completed our family unit of 3. That felt to both my husband and I at the same time, like, this is who we are.
More complete.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It felt complete. Yeah. It's interesting.
I'm looking at my 3 of Pentacles if we feel ready to talk about it. And
Yes.
the imagery on this one is 3 humans. They're kind of sat together on a bench.
Oh, I like that.
And they're like looking at a paper, but it's so collaborative. It's like these guys are making this decision together and they're solving a problem and they're like talking it out. You can feel that energy.
Yeah.
And it's
mine is very solo.
It's interesting, but you've got your 3 of Pentacles all up in the stained glass artwork behind him. It's 3s of Pentacles. Remember, Pentacles represent Earth and the energy that happens in that. It really pulls in about stability, and this particular collaboration with the 3 of Pentacles speaks to how we learn and are taught by others. So, it's something in about teamwork, right? So in my 3 of Pentacles, they're actually weaving together the beautiful mandalas in this particular tapestry, and it lends itself towards this ability to work in tandem together to create, right? These are how we collaborate together, and it's what we do on this podcast, right? We are collaborating all of our intuitive experiences in order to weave together this beautiful tapestry of life. And we have to do that with other people. We can't really do that solo. And so there's an aspect there that I think is very powerful.
Or even just one other person, right? Like in a relationship, you do have 2 perspectives, but if we're pulling in a third, like we're really expanding the perspective. We're really expanding the information we can have and the way we can look at the world. I love that woven tapestry for Pentacles. It's so moving, that imagery.
And just like you were saying earlier, Jamie, when you had your son, like between you and your husband, you would see your experiences through the lens of a child at that point in time. Like it changes your perspective. And that's so incredibly, it's such a profound way to grow. And every perspective is valid. And like you were saying, April, like it is when you introduce something and someone that maybe is really different from you that gives you the most incredible insight that you weren't anticipating on that,
So in saying that, I don't want to bring in the drama, but as I'm writing my second novel right now,
Yes,
I watch a lot of a show called Sister Wives because reality television helps me not overthink my book. Okay. And not draw from somebody else's creative. So I've been watching a lot of Sister Wives, and those 3 wives got along just fine when it was the 3 wives. They introduced a 4th wife, and now they're all divorced from this man. So the polygamy didn't work when the 4th woman came in. He should have stuck with the 3. I'm just saying. I'm deep. I'm deep into this.
I love that. I think it's a really interesting analogy, actually, because the way our society and culture is headed, like maybe even, as Pluto's moving through Aquarius and the energy of it all, like when we talk astrology, I do think that like relationships are looking more and more different these days. And it isn't just a dualistic experience anymore. And sometimes, I have friends who are really like tapping into polyandry and like being in multiple ways of showing partnership is something that is worth exploring sometimes for a lot of people. And I think that that's really fascinating. And so when you
Fascinating.
yeah, when you pull up with the sister wives, maybe with women, three is probably that's a lot. That's a lot of
It's
energy to handle. So
It certainly was. I'm deep
I
into this show, you guys. I'm sorry.
I I support you, Jamie, in anything you're doing to support your creative process. I do love, Rachel, that you brought up polyamory because I feel like, it's very easy to get on polyamory side of TikTok if you're on it. Like, I don't know, or maybe it was just me. I love watching how people communicate in relationships. So maybe that's why it's coming up for me, even though I'm not in a polyamorous relationship. I love the underlying premise that if you're going to have multiple partners, that communication has to be the foundation of everything. Like there cannot be deceit. We need to be open, right? Like for this to be successful, we need to be open and we need to be honest and we need to talk about hurt feelings. And I'm so fascinated. I mean, I'm fascinated with people and relationships. So for me, that's so fascinating. I love that as a basis for all relationships. But when we're talking about the threes and we're talking about relationships of threes, that is so important, right? It's
Yeah.
so easy to do what we talk about in therapy. It's called triangulate, where you pull two people to one side and one's left out and we kind of other one person. And that's a dynamic that happens in families sometimes. It's a problem that causes issues. But when we really need to have that open communication, honesty, and talk about hurt feelings to create that equilateral triangle. So we're all on the same page and we're all on the same side.
I love that. I think it's a really good segue into talking about the Three of Swords because right? And when we look at how we speak to other people in communication, and if threes is really truly about collaboration, then there's going to be the side of this painful process sometimes of like realization that like our words, and the communication that we have like with ourselves and others is sometimes very tricky to navigate. And the Three of Swords is about sometimes that painful process and opening ourselves up enough to be willing to be hurt and to be, yeah, right? Like it's
Do we
about,
all have hearts in the Three of
yeah,
Yeah,
Swords?
and they're
we
all
all
being
do.
stabbed with three swords. Well, I don't know if Rachel's if you're being
Yep.
stabbed, I can't tell.
Mine are knitting needles and
Oof.
yarn that go through the heart. And it's like this heart
Oof.
chakra energy that is like sometimes relationships also show in and like how we grieve and how we are, yes, like and how profound that happens.
Well, so now I'm holding up the Ravens one and it's two hands with like three
Ugh.
nails going through it and like blood. Like it's intense. And I mean, Rachel, you tell me, but like I know there's no bad cards to pull in tarot, right? Because there is no good or bad. We're not putting judgment. It just is what it is. But if we were going to say that there was a bad card to pull, would it be the Three of Swords?
The
Just
three,
imagery wise. I don't know. It feels intense.
yeah. So it's definitely one of the more scarier or intense cards on the deck because sometimes it can represent betrayal and sometimes
Mm.
it can represent like a heart, like a breakup of a relationship. And sometimes it's like, it's also like how we speak to ourselves, like that inner self voice and talk, like can be so destructive sometimes. And so our words have power no matter how you slice it. And with swords and wisdom behind that and how we speak and collaborate towards others, we need to do so from a lens of integrity and authenticity. And when we aren't being authentic in our collaborative efforts with others, it is going to lend itself more and more towards this destructive tone and energy that isn't helpful. And so sometimes we have to clear the air. Sometimes we have to discuss the harder topics of life in order to move past them. And that's something that we all have to face, no matter, like you said, it's not really good or bad, but it is the challenge point that we have to recognize.
Because it happens, right? Like
Yeah.
like we all have issues. No one's perfect in communication. No one's perfect in the way we talk to ourselves or the relationships we have.
It's interesting because I don't understand. Sometimes I have to get to the root of something and it's like Latin, which I didn't take. But it's interesting. Why would that be the Three of Swords? Like, what's the connection between that and the Three of Swords, the stabbing of the heart with three swords?
Like the betrayal, is that what you're asking? Why is
Yeah.
betrayal 3 of swords?
Yeah. How did it get there?
I think a lot of times it's a good question because, like, with the twos, when we talk about partnership and duality, the threes sometimes talk about separation
Mm,
and how we individuate between each other, right? So it is just at the same heart of like how we connect, it is also about how we separate as well. So
interesting.
our identity and the swords represent our own wisdom, right? And so sometimes we can be best friends or our own worst enemies, and it is in recognizing that process where we see the shadow side of how we speak to ourselves and the wisdom we hold that we can grow better. And this is why it's an important aspect of like healing. So this is a card that, like, don't see it as a completely negative card. See it as a, what is it that I need to heal within my own inner talk and how I speak to others and in my voice. Like, right? So the air and how we speak, all of that is very representative of sword energy.
I love that.
I
Breath,
love
like, right?
mm,
Yeah.
I love it as a reflection to, like, stop. Like, okay, like, let's take an evaluation right now. What's going on with the way you're talking to yourself? What's going on with your relationships? What swords need to be pulled out of this heart so we can heal?
Yeah.
Like, take a moment and
I
let's be
agree.
honest and real about what's happening.
Because when we
Ooh.
can communicate that shadow side, then we're looking at it and then we're able to heal it. I think that that's something that we all struggle to do. It's a hard it's uncomfortable, and yet at the same time that's like what's discussed in therapy all the time and stuff like that, because our
Right.
wounds, we hold our wounds close to our heart.
And in our bodies,
Yeah.
literally, we hold our wounds, our emotional wounds in our bodies. And, I love that reframe of like, this doesn't have to be a scary card. This has to be a card to just stop and take a moment and be honest with yourself. What's going on? What are the shadows right now?
Yeah.
That's wild. I mean, I
Mhm.
think that's wild because I have like these three fairies,
Oh,
Mm.
ooh,
and one of them is so hurt that the other one is carrying her away.
how interesting. There's a lot of depth to this one.
Yeah.
I think it's worth then going to the the Three of Cups, because
Got to pivot this energy here.
we got to pivot it. And the Three of Cups is such a healing card for so many reasons. We've got the water and we've got our this is a card that like truly represents friendship and the abundance that comes in with this kind of
I love this card.
community and sisterhood and brotherhood and just the celebration that comes from being with people who you resonate with, right? This is your soul family. This is the people you choose in your life,
Mm.
right?
Can I interrupt and say that my favorite Three of Cups card is the one that Rachel designed for our show?
Yeah, obviously that's my
Obviously.
favorite too. Is
I
it
love it
because it's
so
us, Jamie? As us in the cards,
It's us.
or
well. Is that narcissistic to say, or is my
no?
vanity getting a hold of me? No,
No.
it's such a beautiful card and design, and when I look at it, it's like that artwork frames or is a representation of how I feel about you both.
Hmm.
Mm, I
The
love that.
energy is there that I feel in a picture.
Yes.
And if we were discussing that, it's like the birth, you had a vision very clearly, Jamie, when you were talking about like what you wanted to see in it. And when you were talking about it, I immediately saw it in my head. And I was like, this could play out a variety of different ways. And in design, like it's always fun to like really tap into that creative aspect, the collaborative, creative energy of the threes really birthed through there. And we're all underneath the moonlit sky in this and reaching up together in collaborative joy and intuitive soul connection kind of energy that's just beautiful and
She
like
did it. She said the name of the show in the episode. She did it. She did it. She said the name of the show in an episode. That was amazing.
That was amazing. Gold star, Rachel.
to that point, like I was reading and doing some research on this, and then I came across this beautiful passage in the Light Seers Tarot, and I just would love to read it to both of you because I think it's a really beautiful. It made me cry when I first read it. So,
Oh man, she's gonna make us cry.
I
Okay, let's do
know
it.
she is. Let's do it.
so
We're
it's
ready.
the story of the cups from this card, right? So it's Sister Soul Journeyer, a sacred kin. Thank you for being here with me on this path. When one is happy, the other two are happy for her. And when another needs help, the other two rush to her side, no questions asked. Their bonds are richer than blood, for they know that they have been here before, at a different time, in a different place, in a different life. Supporting one another through their own evolutionary cycles, these are the bonds of time. And with light and our soul family, these have helped them to find one another again and again with each birth and each life. And every year, when the timing is right, they take a weekend away to celebrate their deep bond of friendship and love. And they take an oath to now and to always remain a part of one another's lives. And as they do, they look up to the stars and they smile. And the card shows the Pleiades, which are in the sign of Taurus. And I know, keep going. And then they look up to the stars and they smile, and all is well with the world. The seven sisters of the Pleiades shine down upon them, winking at the interconnectedness of life and blessing them with the knowledge that they will always have a home together, anchored among the stars. And I feel that for us.
I
Oh
do
my
too.
God.
And I just bought us a bowl of Star of Taurus.
I know.
Oh my God.
So when I say that this card represents our show, like we say this in community together because I do feel like we connected immediately on a level that was not just of this earth, but us through lifetimes and through that like frequency and resonance that just is, it's a soul connection. It's a soul connection.
Wow.
Yeah, that was powerful.
Thanks
That's
for
my turn to
that.
say it was powerful. I would love that.
Just so many lines in that coming through, but like just the idea that like when one is hurt, the other two rush without question. And that is the energy I feel from you two. And I really am so moved by that passage. And gosh, I have so many things I want to say about that. The 7-star constellation, is it a constellation, Rachel?
It's the seven sisters, and so like the Pleiades is held within the constellation of Taurus.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay.
Yeah.
There was this concept I read about when I first became a mom, which is about the 7 mothers, and I've never been able to find it again. So please share it with me if you
Yeah,
know
yeah.
where it is. But the concept was that we're supposed to be raised by like 7 mothers, like which is like your birth mother, but like also all these other women, and each one is supposed to provide something different. And the idea is that like one person should not have to be everything for you, because we can't, like Bird can't be everything, but I can be me to you. And then maybe my other, your other mother can be the one who guides you in your career advice, and the other one who can be your spiritual guidance and whatever. But to have these 7 women who are your 7 mothers, and it was just so profound when I read about it and was adjusting to motherhood and, trying to be everything as we're called to be in this society, to one, to your children, to be all the mothers for them. And I was like, yes, that is how we're supposed to be here. And when you said the 7 Sisters of the Stars, I was like, oh my gosh, it's all
Yeah.
connected.
Yeah. Because you're right.
Yeah.
We're not meant to do it alone. And,
No.
it is in finding your tribe. And, we're again so glad that all of you guys are here to join in and believe that like the people who are meant to find us will, and they'll resonate with this in a way that like speaks to them. And just as both of you resonated almost instantaneously with me, it was like that knowing, it's just that deep seated, my soul recognizes your soul, and I
Some
see
might
the
call it
beauty
intuition.
and the light. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm looking for 4 more mothers to raise my son. Just kidding. Drop a
Submit your
comment.
applications. Drop a comment.
Applications below. Sorry. On that note, though, yeah, this is amazing, and I'm verklempt. I feel like you brought it full circle. So, thank you.
The threes really do speak to this beautiful tapestry of how we weave our lives together with other people, and how we can collaborate, how we can communicate, and how we genuinely can create things that are just so much more beautiful and profound through looking at the lens and experiences of others. And I think that helps us grow that much more. That's just the next layer in the lessons that these minor arcana cards have for us. And it's beautiful.
Well, on that note, speaking about intuition and connectedness and shared consciousness, I don't know we were speaking about that, but I'm thinking about it now because the creating a meaningful moment practice, which I usually share with you guys ahead of time, and I haven't even shared this with you yet, that came to me for this show is so related to what we've just been discussing. The offering for this week for creating a meaningful moment for yourself that I want to offer is I want you to take a moment, grab a pen and a paper, and I want you to jot down your quote unquote family tree. But I want you to include found family. I want it only to be people who are exactly what we've been talking about, like part of the tapestry that supports you, that is in your community. And so maybe it's all found family. Maybe it's a mix of found family and blood family. Maybe it's your cat, whoever belongs, and just jot, like you can draw a little tree and each person's on a branch. Like it doesn't have to be connected in the traditional family tree way. But I think it's important as we're talking about the threes, as we're talking about community connection, honesty, conversation, take a minute and reflect on who is in that bubble for you. Who is your found family? Who's your family? Who's in your family tree?
I
love that. That's awesome.
That's going to be, it's going to make you see people differently, I think, April. I'm excited to do that.
Yeah. We all need a moment to reflect on who's supporting us, like who's in our bubble, like who do we want here? Who do we need here? Who's here?
Yeah. Beautiful.
All right. And bringing us to the closing of this episode, I want to invite you all to take a collective community breath with us. So finding a moment for yourself, perhaps placing a hand somewhere on your body where you feel called to, and just taking a deep breath all together in and all together out. And may you stay connected to yourself as you step back into your week.
Thank you so much for connecting with us. If you resonated with what you heard today, please like and subscribe and share this podcast with your friends and family or anyone else who might need a bit more connection and intuition in their lives. Join the conversation and stay in the loop by following us on Instagram at Soul Cards and Connection, and let us know your thoughts, questions, or any stories you might have. We would love to hear from you. Soul Cards and Connection is brought to you by your hosts and executive producers, Jamie Parker Stickle, April Treadle, and Rachel Boozer, and is a production of Make That Paper Productions. A special thanks to our producer, audio engineer, and editor, Jason Bieber, and of course, a huge shout out to our rockstar intern, Brian Guerra, for your invaluable contributions. Thanks for listening, and until next time, we wish you a beautiful week of soulful connections with the cards, yourself, and the world around you. We hope you stay connected, and thanks for being a part of our journey.